By the way, is this marathon the 2-part series? Next, we're not doing next week, and then it's so I'm gonna put it. Okay. Okay. That's it. I think I could finish it. Okay, ladies, I'm gonna start because this is the last series of our Nurturing Connection. It's coming to its conclusion. And honestly, after Rabbi Masri, I'm happy this is recorded because let it be known that after Rabbi Masri, I really feel like I need to feel grounded back into Nurturing Connection because he exploded us with some ideas. And I'm using exploded because I really feel like my brain is on fireworks, you know? Baruch Hashem, so many concepts that and he circled back and brought it all together. And now I'm trying to redirect my thoughts back to our Nurturing Connections. So like I like to start every class, this class, by the way, is going to be with a lot of perspective and a lot of engagement. I like that right now everybody that's been here has been here before, so we could all really chime in, and it's an important topic to chime in on. So that we did a 6 series of our Nurturing Connection. We started with our connection with Hashem, then our connection to our mitzvot, our connection to our feminine energies, our connection to our home and our husband, our connection to the intimacy that we share with our husband, and now we are pregnant and giving birth to our child. Today's course is going to be on parenting. A disclaimer, I am not a parenting coach. I am not an expert in parenting. My context is that I have 5 children under the age of 5. I love saying that. So parenting is new to me because I feel like I'm parenting one big child, one big child separated into 5. So again, if anybody has something to contribute to what we're saying, I'm bringing in perspective under the influence of Rabbi Shais Tov, which I took his course, and I had the honor to, Rabbi Shais Tov, I had the honor to sit with him and to speak with him and to really probe him on some of the questions of his course, and it was extremely enlightening. I wouldn't say that it's like a discipline course or kind of like but it brought so much perspective that when I learned it again in preparation of this class, I felt that it's exactly what I needed when thinking about my children. And what's funny, and I think I said this to some of the ladies, is that it happens to be that every topic that I touch upon every week, I'm really living through it in my personal life. So if last week was a lot about intimacy and connection, I felt that that was like the prominent idea in my home. And if today we're talking about parenting, it's because it's really an idea, a focal idea that's happening right now in my life with my children. So let's start with a joke. That's a good one. There's 3 old ladies sitting on the beach side on a bench in Miami Beach. And one of the old ladies goes to the other 2 ladies and says, look, my son bought me a Rolex watch. It tells me that at every time he's thinking about me, at every time he has me on his mind. And she says, oh yeah? Well, you know the Cadillac that's parked in the ditch there? That's my son who bought it for me. So even more than your Rolex, my son went ahead and bought me a Cadillac. He's thinking about me more than the Rolex watch that you did. So the third one goes, oh yeah? Well, for 15 years, my son has been going to therapy, talking only about me. So more than your Rolex and your Cadillac, I have 15 years that my son is only thinking about me. It's a funny joke, but it comes to highlight, and I'm going to be dramatic for a second, that as parents, we have the biggest impact to completely transform our children's life. And with such a statement, it's pretty scary. Like, I could impact my child in one moment that will stay with him for the rest of his life. That's too much of a responsibility. And that's why actually some people don't want to go into being a parent. It's too big. If the onus of childbearing and child growth is only on me, I wouldn't take it. It's too big of a responsibility. I can negatively affect this child for the rest of this life, that they will carry on to then their own children's life. That's too scary. But the pasuk comes to tell us that there are three, the Talmud in Kedushin comes to tell us that there are three partners in parenting. There is the Blessed One, Hashem, the father, and the mother. So it tells us a very, very secret, a big secret when it comes to parenting. You are not the only parent to your child. Your child has a mother and a father, and a parent of that child is Hashem. And that's what gives me a reassurance to continue to make children. Because if it was all on me and all on my husband, I feel like I would fail. But if I understand that I have the company's credit card, that I have unlimited access to Hashem's resource, then it tells me that I'm not only parenting this child, that I'm also parenting it with God. So what is unlimited access to the company's credit card? It means I got you. Create a child, and I will give you infinite resource for that child. I will give you infinite love. I will give you infinite time. I will give you infinite wisdom. I will even give you infinite patience. What does infinite love means? Mathematically, if I have 10 children, then I have 1/10 of love to give to one child. I have 1/10 of love to give to a second child. But no, it's so infinite that we're accessing God that I could have 17 children around me and love each and every one of these children equally. That's accessing a potential of God. Because, right, if you take a pie and you have 10 to split, you give 1/10 to each child, it should be that you have a certain allocation of love to give to this one child. But no, you could love a child equally and multiply with many, many different children. Infinite wisdom. We all are a part of our parents' wisdom. There's a wisdom that my mother and my father imparted on me. My mother's here. She gave me a certain wisdom that as I continue my own journey of parenting, I carry it on also. So that wisdom is also an access to the infinite resource. Infinite time. Sometimes a quality of time, a hug, a moment, a second that I am present with my child can impact them for eternity. That one time that I hug my son when he really needed it, or when I get to eye level with my daughter and explain to her, that leaves an impact. That can forever change her life moving forward. So we see that in parenting, we have infinite resource. We have access to Hashem's credit card, and he tells us, even financially. There's psukim that come and tell us that, people are a little bit apprehensive sometimes to have children because they're not financially stable. But with every child comes the finance to sustain that child. With every child comes the actual financial resource to provide for that child. And we always say, like my husband and I, we always say it should, that child comes with that bracha, and that bracha comes to sustain that child. And that's how we know that we're accessing infinity. We're accessing godliness because we're not the only parent to that child. So we have to first understand that if it was up to us alone, it would be too overwhelming. I don't want to be responsible for a neshama if it's not that I can access godliness himself. And the truth is that the Talmud tells us that he is partner in the creation of that child. That's number one. So much so, actually, that the Aseret Dibrot, right, the 10 commandments, there's 5 that is God to God, right? God to God, and 5, no, God to man, and 5 that are man to man. Don't kill, don't steal, that's all man to man, right? And then the other one is the relationship within God to man. So to honor your mother and father should really be from man to man. We're talking about child to parent, but it's actually on the other tablets with the ones from man to God, because parenting is a godly thing. Parenting has godly access, which is interesting to think. Hi. So now that we can understand the role of parenting and understand that we're not alone in this parenting and that God intervenes and co-parents with us, then we have a little bit of confidence when it comes to parenting. We're not alone in this. Now think about your child. If we can understand the idea of what it is to be a parent, that I have infinite access to resources of Hashem because he's a parent with me, Let's focus now on a child. What is a child? What is a child? If you had to describe a child, what would that be? Yeah.
No.
We're getting to that, Olivia. We're getting to that. But think about it. If you had to just,
Man that doesn't know how to regulate his feelings.
Okay.
No.
okay. Okay, so that's a layer of a child. But if you're just talking, yeah,
It's
beautiful. So a child is the most untouched, untrampled, unaffected, like the purest snowflake that falls from the purest cloud. He represents the most shape of Hashem. If adulthood is shaped by society, childhood is shaped by God. If adulthood is shaped by society, we become sophisticated, we interpret life differently, we become complex, we become, honestly, we become like everything, is indoctrinated because we become more knowledgeable. The simpleton is a child. It's the closest connection and purity of God. Because it's God's essence, it's the beginning. Think about the first time you held a child.
Because they're innocent.
That innocence, that's the word.
But when you see your child, you're seeing the innocence?
You are. You love and you coo with that child because he's the closest form of the first idea of God's idea of a child. The innocence, the discovery, the purest form of a human being is
No, I'm not being sarcastic.
So this, by the way, what I'm saying, what I'm saying, by the way, is accessible for any age, even if you have running teens in your home. Okay.
When I see child, I see challenge. All of my children. No, sometimes this challenge is good.
Yeah.
She's so sweet. I cannot put, like, she's making something not nice, but she has so much charm.
Okay, but now we want to layer back to what a child is in essence. It's a gift of God.
No, it's a gift of God.
It's a gift of God that entrusted you to cultivate that neshama. He entrusted you as parents, but he says, I'm with you on it, right? We first established that I'm with you. He's not saying, now have this child and go, and now grow it and foster it. It says, no, I'm with you. But it's an essence of purity. You want to know something? We think that we teach our children. The truth is our children teach us, and I'll tell you how.
Yes,
I'll tell you how. No, not in a challenging way. I want to go back to resort of that idea when you first hold your first baby. B'ezrat Hashem, it should be soon for you. When you first hold that baby and you just see it for its godly self. He is unconditionally loved. He is unconditionally, I'm looking for the word, one second. No, infinite, because he comes from a source of God himself, and he's intrinsically worthy. Whether you choose to love him, care for him, cater to him, he is a piece of God, a gift of God that says, you are the parents, I entrust you with that. But within our child, we also learn things that as adults we forget. A child is curious. He sees the world as adventurous. When's the last time that you stopped at the Grand Canyon and you didn't, you started thinking about the stats and the rocks? You were not so enchanted by the wonders of God. A child is enchanted by the wonders of God, so much so that Disney wants to sell that enchantment because a child likes to see life as big and grandiose and, is naive in that way, which for us it becomes distorted. A child also is vulnerable. It has a simple faith. It holds his mommy's hand when he crosses the street. We've become complexed. My son the other day, as I was putting him to sleep, he told me, Mommy, how do I know that Hashem is listening to my prayers? I was completely flabbergasted by that comment because from that question, he's making me think, do I really feel like Hashem's listening to my prayers? He's capitulating back on the innocence that God wants implemented in all of us. That's why we love and we coo with a newborn baby, because it's the most innocent and purest form. A child also teaches us to dream and to wonder, to think big. You know, mommy, one day I want to be the biggest astronaut that's going to set the foot on the moon. We became so calculative. We became so human. We forgot to dream. A child also is extremely absorbed in a moment. When a child, even in a negative way, is having a tantrum, he's so involved in that tantrum that right now he's thinking like, you need to meet my need. You need to give me that candy. But even in the negative sense, it teaches us that that child means that there's meaning to his life. That candy is necessary. It's meaningful to me. So I have meaning in my life. And the fact that he's so absorbed means that he's present. We're not so present. We become calculative. Sometimes we're distracted. Meaning, childhood is the best version of our life that we feel so connected to God. And then we go into adults and we become too sophisticated. So much so that there's a pasuk in the Torah that says that a parent will find his heart through his children. Powerful. That means through learning and wanting to give my child the ideas and values to know between right and wrong, I will myself go back to my childlike self and learn to redefine the essence of life through parenting. And that's why parenting could be challenging, because it offers the biggest change of life. The biggest growth that you will have, aside from maybe your marriage, will be through your children. You will find your heart through the nurturing and growth of your children.
What would you say the parent, the pursuit, you just said the parent finds his way to the
Yeah,
heart?
you know what? Can you pass me my bag? I'll tell it to you because I want to quote it exactly. You can find it in the Mishnah. A parent will find their heart through, I'm going to say it exactly, but a parent will, I like to quote it right, oh, here, the heart of a parent will return through their children. And where that is from, yeah. Here. It's from, not education, it's from Malachi 3:24. Malachi 3:24. The hearts of parents will return through their children. Another thing that we have to understand is a child is also a part of God. There was once a man, a distinguished man that came to the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he told him, he said, Rebbe, I'm so embarrassed, but I have such a temper with my child that I go and I hit him sometimes. I can come to such a point of anger and frustration that I allow myself to lay my hand on my child. And with very warm eyes, the Rebbe told him, he said, if you would contemplate and meditate on the idea that your child is also the child of Hashem, you wouldn't dare raise a hand on a child of Hashem. And the truth is that we forget that this child, although entrusted within me to be a parent, is also unconditionally Hashem's child. Hashem inserted in this child a pride and a worthy, undistinguished by me as the parent, which is the pasuk, banim, right? The pasuk is banim atem laHashem Elokecha. So now that we can understand what a child is, and we can understand that they have an innocence, that they have a purity, and that they're a child firstly of God, and we are also partnering with God in parenting that child. Now that we've understand parent and child, and maybe I should emphasize more on children, because again, if you meditate that this is God's child, then you would treat it with awe. Rabbi Shai Stob in his course would say, when your child comes in, are you in awe? No, not in awe. You should be in awe of your child coming into the room and feel like you have a presence of a piece of God. And when you have that kind of interpretation, you will treat that child with a lot more dignity, with a lot more love, with a lot more respect. But now we just spoke about a parent as an identity itself, a child as an identity itself. How do we bridge the relationship? Now, what do we do for parenting? Yes. Yeah. Sure.
parts of Hashem, not just our children.
Yeah,
So shouldn't you be in awe when your mother comes in or your husband?
absolutely. Absolutely. You should also be in awe of the fact that Hashem is co-parenting with you. You should be in awe of the fact that Hashem is not telling you now swim in the water. Here, I give you a child. I give you a part of a neshama that was really from myself. Now just learn to float. He tells you, you have access to me. Don't think that you're parenting alone. I'm here with you. Also, I gave you a piece of me through that child. But when you recognize that that's also a piece of Hashem, that your child is also a piece of Hashem, you're going to learn to see that child, not just with the tantrums and the frustrations and the challenges. And there are, I'm not negating them. There are times where it's really tough. But if I could see my child as a piece of God, and I can tell myself that I also have access to godliness because he's parenting with me, then the relationship takes a shift. It's perspective. That's what I'm offering. I'm not.
I would say my teenager, she complains, that he trusting Hashem, that I was a mother that he like.
Right.
Hashem give you this knowledge to care for you, because
Right.
it was the best for you.
Right.
So whatever.
Right. He entrusted you with that child, so he knows what's best. He's talking through you to educate her.
Exactly. So
But you know what? In effect, that education is also building a foundation for when she becomes an educator to her own children. Right? There's that ripple effect of especially. And the godliness, the resource of godliness kind of goes in with generation. And that's why, childbearing is so important, because it has that continuous effect. So I was talking now, how do we parent? Now that we understand what it is to be parent, I have infinite access to Hashem's resource, and a child is a piece of God, and that I have to be in awe of that child. And he teaches me really vulnerability, innocence, purity, absorbing, being present. Then how do I parent? So there are ways to parent, and we call them the 4 Ps. And this is a lot taken from Rabbi Shai Stove. You could police, and I want to get it right. So policing means that you could direct unwanted behavior. You could provide material needs, emotional needs. You're catering to their well-being. And you could protect them from harm, teaching them how to cross the road, to watch both ways. So policing, providing, and protecting. Would we say that that's parenting? I'm saying everything else kind of falls under these 3 things. Think about any way that you're, if you're policing, then when the child hits another sibling, you're telling them, oh, we don't do that. You're differentiating between right and wrong. But if you had to define parenting, are any of those things real parenting? Policing, protecting, providing. So they're important. They actually lead to proper parenting. But parenting is the transmission of your values. Parenting is the transmission of your values. What I am meant to do as a parent is teach my child what is valuable to me, what is important in my life with my husband, the values that I have from Torah. I need to transmit them to my child. So there was a fun experience, and I invite you to do it now. If your child was invited to do a TED Talk, okay, and had to give 5 values that they grew up with in their home, learning from their parents, 5 things, concepts, ideas that they had to come up in TED Talk and said, in my home, I learned 5 things. What would they be? You could jot this down if you want. 5 things that you would want that for eternity, when your child goes ahead to be their own parent, you want them to inject those 5 values.
You want these 5 values?
5 values. Think about it now. It's meant to be
How do you say it?
self-control.
Self-control.
Okay. I'm going to share you mine also. Honesty is a very good one. Obviously, this is all going to be respect, right? So your son is up in TED Talk. My mommy, my daddy, they taught me 5 things that I carry in my life. 5, like, topple respect. She said it, yes. 5 topple values. And there's so many. It's really hard to even just like bring it down to 5. But if you can establish right now 5 values that are important in your home, then you're doing the work of transmitting values to your children because it's clear in your mind. So I sat down with my husband and I said, listen, for taking this course, it's not for nothing. We need to establish 5 very integral values that are going to be the conduits that at every time we speak to our children. Give an example. And by the way, it doesn't have to just end to that. Like when your child opens the fridge and takes things from the fridge, yes, you could be policing. No, you don't do that. You don't make a mess in the fridge. Or you could be transmitting values. It's not very kind. Mommy reorganized the fridge. It's not very nice. It's not polite to do that. Meaning you can always find a situation that instead of protecting, policing, providing, you're instilling values. So I'll share with you mine. This is something that I sat with my husband to do. And it doesn't mean that it's subjected only to those values, but those are things that we want to enhance in our home. And I'll share it with you girls, with you ladies today. Oh yeah, it really is. It really is. But that's the work. Parenting is the work. I got off the phone with a lady because, like I said, I am struggling with my 6-year-old who, when he is regulated, our whole household is regulated. When he is dysregulated, our whole household is dysregulated. And because I have multiple children that are very close of age, he becomes the mascot of the house. So much so that my younger one now, how she interprets play is how her brother interprets play with her. So I see that she's parallel playing because she's not very accepted to play with the other ones. So I see how it has such an effect on the household. So I called up this lady who was apparently she's like a master in this, and she told me, I'm not here to infiltrate into your space. I'm here actually to melt away. Because parenting, if you want, is a work on us more than it's the work on the children, because the energies are felt. They're very malleable, our children. So the values, I'm really happy that actually we came to the conclusion of parenting, because I'm telling you, I'm living this reality now. And it made me go back on this message to think back on the core values of me and my husband. Trust and strong belief in Hashem, that Hashem provides and takes care of everything. I want my child to know that God is intervened in everything. That was one of the values I want to instill. Now, how? Bedtime stories. That question that my son asked me, Mommy, how do you know that Hashem is really listening to me? I made him understand that God doesn't work like a vending machine, that prayers are always kept. Sometimes you'll hear them an answer right away, but sometimes you'll hear it later. Those kind of moments that you have with your child where it's like a teachable moment, like they say, is a good time to instill your value system. So trust in Hashem was one of them. Simcha. Being married to a Breslover, it's extremely important that Simcha be an avira, an atmosphere in my home. So music, dancing, the car ride home is the hardest thing ever. We're going to blast that music. It was a hard day. We're going to try to transform the energy to being a simchadik one. Confidence and pride. I want that my children feel a value of not feeling afraid to walk outside the street with the payas that they have, with the kippah on their head, with the sneas. I want them to feel a confidence in their Judaism. Kindness. It's a huge one. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm so kind with my children. How can I instill kindness if I'm not treating them with kindness? Think about the times that you speak to your children. Eliyahu, come and sit down right now and come in and do your homework. Of course, he's going to go and tell his sister, Chana, if you don't come sit down right now, I'm going to, we're a dugma chaya, we're a living example for our children. But if we don't instill the values strong enough within us, and it's definitely a work, then how do we transmit it? How do we transmit it? And the last one of number 5 I have here is connection. That yearning for connection in any relationship that you have keeps you alive and gives you, and that relationship, the vitality needs to live to its fullest. If you see everything as a point of connection, then everything has a purpose and everything has a vitality, and there's a reason for everything. So those are the 5 things that I did with my husband. I invite you, when you go home, to really think about some value systems, but we're not done. After we've instilled values, and after we've instilled what's our system, what's our skeleton of our house, how do we transmit it? Now, how do we really parent? I'm asking. Now that you thought about the 5 very important values of your household, how will you transmit it?
I heard this week, I learned this week that if you say to the kid, it's about the language. if you want to say to your kids, come, it's the dinner
Ready?
is ready, say it's time to do the today. Don't say go to sleep, say it's time to do Kriyat This
Positive talk can have an effect.
no, this mention of spiritual, like create an association and values
Yeah,
between the obligation
and
and
what you want.
and yes, and the values.
So the
Yeah.
idea behind transmitting your values, if transmitting your values is the car, the engine of transmitting your values is through bonding.
What is bonding?
Bonding. How do you say bonding?
Se relationner avec.
Connection.
So I'm going to give you an example. My son is obsessed, and I don't say it lightly, he's obsessed with video games. You know, he's 6 years old, talking to me about a Nintendo Switch, you know, and like we're in a household where there's a screen time limit that after 15 minutes, like the screen is off and he has to come and ask me for a code. So I spoke to Rabbi Shais Tov about the idea of how I cannot stand this obsession with this screen and this. And he said, has it ever occurred to you that maybe if you want to transmit how in your house you want to refrain from this kind of distraction, let's say, why don't you sit with him and play with him? I said, what? You want me to play Mario Brothers with him? She said, yeah. Sit with him while he is doing something that he loves and encourage him. And so I did it. I took his as a test and for his, no, I didn't play. I just watched him do it, okay? And he's going to get the mushroom and the coins. And I'm like, wow, Eliyahu, that's amazing. Like, mommy, look. And like, I got to the next level. Oh, and Bowser, you're fighting Bowser. I'm like, oh, you know, you're fighting Bowser and you're reaching the flag. It was such a bonding moment because I was now engulfed in his world that, and I had to call Rabbi Shaistov to let him know about this. And he goes, okay, mommy, I'm kind of done playing. I want to go play with Levi Legos. And he just tossed me the phone. Because for him, the idea that I bonded with him was so valuable to him that I was able to transmit that in essence, I really want him to play and my version of play. So what he really needed is that little point of connection. And I was able to establish and instill a value through that bonding. So much so that I was shocked. He went to me like, okay, mommy, I want to go play with Levi now and I want to play Legos. He's playing Legos right now. And I'm like, you're not even done your 15 minutes, Eliyahu. And he's like, it's okay. I did it. It's fun. I did all the levels and I was amazed. I was amazed of that moment. And then I made it that everything that became beautiful in his world should be relevant in mine. And through that real connection, that was a time where I was like, you know, Eliyahu, like I'll give analogies. That idea that you're doing now with your Lego and it's also a teachable moment for me to instill my kind of value system. And that's when they're also receptive to me because bonding is established. Rabbi Shaistov makes a joke that, you know, when that high school student gets in trouble and he says, oh my gosh, like, if I get in trouble, I definitely don't want to tell my parents. I don't want my father or my mother to know. You want to be that parent that when they're in trouble, they run to you. When they're in trouble and they feel like they're in there's a big problem, that they come to you. And to avoid that kind of rebellious attitude, to avoid that like that distrust, you have to create bonding. Bonding means, mommy and daddy, I trust you. You're the only people in the world that when the going gets rough, I come to you. You create a safe haven for me. You create safety for me. You are what I need to replenish in. So parenting is firstly, I have it. I got it all. I have access to Hashem at 100%. He gave me this child. He's co-parenting with me. I'm not in this alone. Then there's the phase of, this is my child. Alone, he's untouched. Alone, he's unconditionally, he has an intrinsic worthy. If I like it, if I manipulate it or not, I should be in awe of him because he's a chelik of Hashem. I should feel love and awe for him alone. And just if you do those two things, you'll see a shift. Just by starting to see the difference in your child, that when he comes in, you want to embrace him and hug him, just with the same idea and moment when he first came into this world, you embraced him, you nurtured him. There was a connection as he came skin to skin on you. We lost that. We really did. We lost that idea of that first idea when he first came into the world. My Eliyahu became manipulated, like life manipulated my version of Eliyahu from that first time he came into the world and I held him. But if we can resort back to that first idea, then we can see awe in our child. I'm going to give you one last exercise that's really an amazing one, okay? You need a piece of paper if you have one. If you need to describe the bestest of friend that you have in your life, the bestest of friend. If you have to describe the best friend that you could have, what qualities would that friend have? Oh, if you have a lot of friends, so just right. Think about what that best version of a friend would be to you.
Existing
Yeah.
or imaginary?
No, it can be. I mean, just think like the ideal. It could be that you have one or it could be that you don't. But yeah, I'm saying this is a good exercise to have. It's a powerful one. As many as you think. I realize that, like, you know, a lot of the times I feel like I want to give over this class, but I like it to be engaging, especially through parenting, because parenting is all about practice. Yeah, so how could you tell or define when someone is a best friend? How could you tell or define when somebody is a best friend? And I invite you also to read them. If you have them, like, you could read them. Read the list of what a best friend would be, the ideal best friend.
I'll tell you one.
Here in the podcast, huh?
Yeah, everyone's hearing. I think an important one for me at least is when I hear someone speaking a lot of Lashon Hara to me about their family, their husband, their kids, their friends, I'm like, for sure, they're speaking about me.
Yeah,
To everybody
right,
else.
right. So honesty and integrity, maybe, as a value, like label it. Like that would be like, yeah, so it'd be, yeah. No lashon hara. I would say like honesty is a big one, like honest everywhere, you know,
I mean, you could be honest and still.
or integral. Or like this, say, like genuine. Yes, genuine is a good one.
But I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Because let's say my best friend, right, and and maybe we can look at it as Lashon Hara, but what if she's, I don't know, like going through a challenge with her sister, I don't know, she did something and upset her. And she comes to me
Talk to
and
you.
she trusts me and she
Right.
opens to me and we talk about it. I can look at it like, wow, you're talking Lashon Hara about your sister, I
Right.
don't know what you're gonna say about me.
Yeah,
But I can also look at it as,
I'm a
wow,
safe
you
zone.
trust me and you come to me for advice, or, I'm your open.
So what would you
space.
label that for a best friend? Like if you had to give that a name, is that I'm your safe zone? I'm your,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm the yeah,
trustworthy,
I'm
it's fine
trustworthy.
because
Yeah,
You can look at it in a different way, but. I look at maybe, when something happens between her and I, maybe
Yeah.
goes to her sister.
you're her
right?
outlet. You're
But
her
that
place
doesn't
where
mean
she,
that
yeah.
she
But that's her
broadcasts that to the world.
constructiveness. That's being constructive. Maybe she's looking for help or advice. Sometimes our people will just talk bad.
Oh, okay.
No, so write it as a,
Okay.
write it as a value. Like, so integral, somebody that's honest, somebody that's,
No, for me, the first, comment on dit
Criteria.
criteria.
She needs to have, if I can read on her the fire on her to grow up, we can be very well.
Growth oriented.
Yeah, if it's a person like she like her comfort zone.
So it's
her
deep. You're looking for
routine,
deep depth,
Yeah, comment on dit la profondeur?
For depth. Like,
La profondeur, c'est un critère qui va me connecter à elle.
okay, so now, so let's have somebody read your list. Go ahead. Yeah. She's gonna read her list.
Someone that forgives.
Mhm.
Someone that you can trust, someone with a good humor, someone that is very supportive, someone that is loyal, someone that is not judgmental, someone that is respectful, someone that is a good listener, someone that is a believer,
Wow,
someone that is honest,
Does
someone that
exist?
is not. Selfish.
amazing. Okay, no, remind me, it's Perla, right?
Yes.
Yes, so Perla. What a beautiful long list. Now, if you had to look at this list, okay, and think about how you can be all this to your child.
But I think if we're looking for that, it's because that's how we are.
If that's what you seek in a friend, where in the Torah does it says that you can't be your child's best friend? Nowhere.
Yes and no. You could be a friend, but you're the parent.
You are the
You have to
parent,
know.
right?
That's what I think.
But
That's what I think.
Maybe at a certain-
But listen to the lingo. I'm not saying, you see, and again, I'm taking this from Rabbi Shai's Tov.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, but everything that you have in this list is what you described as being a friend.
respected.
Yes.
I mean,
So why can't you exhibit all of these things to your child?
For sure.
But even your.
But that's how you, I'm just saying, that's how you described, I didn't say how do you describe a parent. You probably would have written a different list. I said, how do you describe to be a best friend? And now nothing on that list is crossing a boundary in terms of being a parent. People feel uncomfortable that we call each other friends because yes, I'm supposed to be the parent and you're supposed to be a child, supposed to be a level of boundaries and respect, fine. But really nowhere in the Torah does it say that we can't be best friends. And I'm saying best friends in the version that you just listed to me. Say it again a little bit. The first one, the first thing that you said.
Tell me that thing.
Okay, 11 things. Give me the 11 things.
I suppose someone that forgives. Forgiveness,
Do you not want to be somebody that forgives to your child?
Yes.
Keep going.
someone that you can trust.
Who else in the world can your child trust if it's not you?
That is pleasant to be with.
You want your child is, if not 8 hours in school, only has you, you would want that they would want to be in your presence. Ah,
Someone loyal,
for sure.
someone that doesn't judge, not judgmental.
And that's a big one. If you wouldn't want a friend to judge you, how much so does your child not want judgment from their own parent? And how much so do we do judge them, if we're being really honest?
Someone that respects you.
You want to know something? We were taught, especially from a Moroccan descent, that you ought to respect your mother and father. But how much do we ought to respect our children? If also they teach us how to love again, they teach us and they bring us back our innocence, just for that you should respect them. That they bring you back to your original, purest, childlike self.
Acknowledge everything around you.
So many times we're distracted when our children come to talk to us. Mommy, Daddy, 1 second, I'm on the phone. I'm busy with this. Everything is too important, but what they need right now.
Someone honest. Okay.
I think that works for a child also, right? So the idea here is it's
Yes,
true,
sometimes-
Absolutely.
Selfish, about it.
for sure. But people feel uncomfortable, like Melinda, like we said, I also, when I first heard this concept, I felt uncomfortable. I'm supposed to be the parent. We're not at the same level.
I've been going to it, happens to me,
Yeah.
how you have a very good person parenting, and they're very strong about the idea,
Yeah,
about
you're the parent,
you're the parent.
right?
And
Don't be
they
cruel to
have
your
to-
teen.
You have to do a game night, you have to bond.
Yes.
That's in the position, it's like
But
you have to
exactly.
employ,
But you don't treat me like one-on-one.
So-
We're not
so-
one-on-one. But I think that
No. but this is nothing to do with that, this has nothing to do with that.
It's different.
No, so wait, so the next part is if we talked about the engine, we've got to talk about the brakes. Okay, what are the brakes? Okay, if we're talking about now, how do we distinguish that I'm the parent and I'm the child?
I don't want to be, you know, say, "Boy,
No, so that's for sure, right? Like, again, we distinguish what a parent is, we distinguish what a child is, we distinguish how the parenting works through transmitting of values. The transmitting of values is the engine through bonding. Okay, now how do we push on the brakes when the brakes need to be pushed? Okay, and again, policing, protecting, and protecting, and providing are parenting ways. But those are one ways to get through the real parenting, which is transmitting values. Now, the brakes are you give your child space and independence and autonomy to do things on their own. It doesn't make any sense if I'm transmitting my child a value that when he's left alone to do it alone, he's not doing it for himself. And that's the brakes. The boundary there is at a certain point, you got to let him ride that bike. He'll never learn to ride the bike if you don't or if you're not always there to catch him. It's giving him the autonomy, giving him the space that he loves it so much that he will actually come back to you. That's why so many people that whose children are off the derech, I'm finishing, whose children are off the derech, what is the number one piece of advice that they give for a child that's off the derech? Bonding and give space of love, because the space is going to be so nurturing that no matter what kind of pleasure they'll feel in life, they'll come back to that space of nurturing.
Where do you put authority?
There is such an idea of discipline. There is. But can I tell you the last?
Value.
Sometimes it's better if you. more
Yes,
people don't pay
yes.
attention.
What's integral to you?
Well,
Your
you're
values,
able to defend
You're
your
saying that's what expressed from you.
Yes,
You know?
for sure.
My daughter keeps saying, you're Latin, that's why you are so, you're so different. But like she's saying, like, you're so strict, like
No,
American
but
fathers are more.
Like lenient. Yeah,
You have a Latin
yeah,
mother.
right. And that's what God gave you. And the value systems that you're going to have, you're going to also give to your children, for sure. Now, Micha asked, what about discipline? I want you to know that there is a rule, okay? And we have to break our generational experiences. At a certain point, we have to not be another version of our parents if our version of our parents wasn't a positive one. If it was a positive one, Baruch Hashem, you're continuing to link the chain. But if at any point there was a negative one, you need to learn to learn how to be different. The idea of you better respect mommy and Abba because I'm mommy and Abba is something that might work, but doesn't necessarily work with the generation that we have today. So Rabbi Shais Tov says something beautiful, and I'm going to end the course with this idea, is just like one positive mitzvah brings another positive mitzvah, one positive action that your child does that's celebrated, that's applauded, that's told with like, kol hakavod to you, amazing, will reach out other positive ones. The same way in the negative. I can tell you firsthand. Yeah, exactly. That bonding, and today after school, I will try again to do that bonding, yes, because my Eliyahu needs it so much. Will breach other more bondings. Now look how it works in the negative also, and I'm telling you this is 101, my son. Anytime I try to be tough, or try to be the disciplinary, or kind of like reenact what I was known, I'm the boss, it's a level of control. What am I feeding? My ego, what it ought to be in my house. There is no ego in parenting.
But it's open, I'm not agreeing with
Yeah,
that.
because we're from Moroccan descent.
No,
I understand.
no, because sometimes to put your rules, it is not working like that, it's like that. It's.
But I'm not
contradicting
contradicting that. I'm not contradicting that.
But
Because
it's
your
not-
values,
I'm not your friend, I'm your mom. She needs to respect me.
through your values. You make that clear that it's your values, she'll understand that it's your value. And because you're her mom, she'll want to give you your values. But you have to be clear on your values, not on your discipline, on your values. What's valuable in this house? What's valuable in this
Doesn't
house?
mean everything goes, they can do.
Yeah,
everything.
no, it's not.
Obviously, there's lots of form of love too.
Yeah.
Love is, I wrote down like, someone who, like a best friend, someone who tells you the truth even when it's hard, someone who, like, that's a parent also.
Like, it's
Parent
also-
sets rules, even if it's hard,
You-
because sometimes it's for their own good.
You have to think of the perspective, B'ezrat Hashem, when our children are going to get older, and we have moms here that have teens, okay? And then the teens come with all kinds of infiltrated information that's necessarily not something we want. It's not our 6-year-old that says, oh, we don't do that. We might not have that control. We want to have teenagers that come to us and tell us, mommy, something happened today that made me uncomfortable, and create that safety that they could feel vulnerable with us. And how could we do that if at every time there is an avira of you ought to, you must be? It won't enhance them. It won't give them the chance to come talk to you, to come bond with you, to trust you. We got to think about that now as they're 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 years.
Because they have like a string, the more you push it, you can break it, you're gonna be so.
For
like,
sure.
I don't want to have nothing to do, you have to respect me, I'm like that, but I'm before God. And it's, you have to have like a different connection, and in that connection, all these points, like, you have to trust you have to be respectful, all these, but they try to.
Yeah.
I think you need
So the last one is parenting.
to-
Parenting is actually transmitting of your values. You have to log in. Wait. Is he on? Okay, so here, so let's stop the recording. Okay, ladies, we're gonna start now.
Thank you,
Thank you so much. The end of Nurturing Connection. Je te laisse avec ça, okay? Give positive behavior momentum. Give positive behavior momentum. Tu as compris?
J'ai compris, je l'ai donné, mais je dis juste que les enfants, des fois, ils te usent, ils te tirent au max. Parce que
Je sais pas de quoi tu parles.
C'est gentil, alors ça. J'étais comme ça, elle m'a dit, j'ai jamais vu une maman qui fait le.
Well, let me tell you, and I'm gonna end with this. For parents,
Whatever energy you pour in is the energy you're gonna get.
so if you want positive energy, you pour in good energy, pas discipline, pas que tu es manipulateur. Arrête. Oui, non, même pas ça. Tu me dis qu'elle est manipulatrice, elle va être manipulatrice. What you pour into the so, whatever we give energy to, we get more.
Attends, 2 secondes, juste, laisse-moi juste faire ça, je sais pas où c'est. There should be a plug somewhere.
I didn't have time today to be sad because it's 8 a.m.
Just how you will be sad.
But yesterday night, I was one of the sad. What do you mean? You were a step, weren't you?
We can break.
You're a sad.
Sorry, Rav, I'm just trying to connect the Zoom, the screen.
Someone did tell you something.